everyone. Welcome to TEF's English Classroom. Today I'll teach you everything you need to know about verbs. What is a verb? A verb is a word which shows an action or a state. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the different types of verbs. Action verbs and state verbs, regular verbs and irregular verbs, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, auxiliary verbs, modal verbs, and linking verbs. A particular verb can belong to one or more than one of these types. Keeping that in mind, let's start the lesson. There are mainly two types of verbs. One of them is action verbs. They are also introduced as dynamic verbs. The second type is state verbs, also called as stative verbs. Action verbs express specific actions, or we can say that they show physical activities. Examples: fly, dance, glide, catch, dig, bake. State verbs describe a state, condition, or a situation rather than an action. Examples: have, own, belong, contain, include, lack, remember, agree, promise, doubt, understand, forget, imagine, suppose, love, hate, want, need, desire, adore, like, prefer, hope, value. These verbs are not used in the continuous form. Verbs can also be categorized as regular verbs and irregular verbs. Let me explain further. There are 5 forms of a verb: infinitive or the base form, present tense, present participle, past tense, and past participle. Look at this example. To help is the infinitive or the base form. The present tense is help or helps. When we use the present tense form of a verb in a sentence, if the subject is singular, we add s to the verb. But if the subject is plural, we do not have to add s to the verb. Here's an example to make it easier for you to understand. My sister helps me. My sisters help me. He cooks dinner. They cook dinner. I will explain this further in a future lesson, so make sure to subscribe to this channel. Next form is present participle, the ing form of the verb, helping. Then comes the past tense and the past participle, helped. Let's see another verb. The infinitive form is to create. Present tense is create or creates. Present participle form is creating. Past tense is created. Past participle is also created. Do you see any similarity between these two verbs? The two letters ed have been added to both verbs in order to form their past form and the past participle form. Such verbs are called regular verbs. When it comes to irregular verbs, the past tense and past participle are not formed by adding ed. Let's look at the verbs cut and shut. The present tense, past tense, and past participle forms are similar. Cut, 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 and shut, shut, shut. The next two verbs are make and catch. In these two verbs, the past form and the past participle form are similar. Made, made, and caught, caught. If we consider verbs such as come and run, the present form and the past participle forms are similar. Come, come, run, run. Finally, verbs like fall and take have completely different infinitive, past and past participle forms. Fall, fell, fallen. Take, took, taken. These four categories of verbs are called irregular verbs. There are lots of irregular verbs in English language, and you learn them with time and experience. Verbs can also be categorized as transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. A transitive verb is a verb that needs an object to complete itself. It is called transitive because it passes its action from subject to object. With transitive verbs, if you ask the question who or what, you'll get an answer. Look at this example. Please send the mail to the new address. Send what? The mail. So the object is the mail. The transitive verb is send. She hugged her daughter affectionately. Hugged who? Her daughter. Hugged is the transitive verb. Her daughter is the object. Make, take, watch, grab, hold, buy, wrap, lead, embrace, reduce, push, pull, bury, squeeze are some more examples for transitive verbs. An intransitive verb is a verb that does not need an object to complete itself. It does not pass its action from subject to object. For example, Brian smiled broadly when he saw the bride. Joe runs faster than anyone else. In these sentences, there are no objects. In other words, there's no person or thing receiving the action. So if you ask the questions who or what, you will not get an answer. Scream, sail, relax, walk, swim, sit, fly, wave, panic, shout, float, escape are some more examples for intransitive verbs. Now let's talk about auxiliary verbs, also known as helping verbs. Auxiliary verbs are used together with a main verb. They are used to show the tense of the main verb, to form a question, or to form a negative sentence. Be, do, have, and modal verbs are considered as auxiliary verbs. Let's discuss further about modal verbs in a few minutes. Be, do, and have are also used as main verbs. Here are the different forms of be, do, and have. I will upload a separate video in near future to help you learn how to use these auxiliary verbs to show the tense of the main verb, to form a question, and to form a negative sentence. Subscribe to TEF, the English Fairy YouTube channel to get notified as soon as I upload a new video. And follow my other social media platforms to get your daily bite-sized dose of English. Modal verbs. Modal verbs are used to express abilities, possibilities, permissions, and obligations. Let's learn each modal verb in English language. Can is used to show ability. For example, Josh can swim. Permission or request. Example, can I borrow your pen? Offer. Example, can I help you? Could. Possibility, heavy rain could cause floods. Past ability, Uncle Sam could run fast when he was young. Permission, could I use your bathroom? Request, could you pass the salt please? May. Possibility, the sky is cloudy. It may rain today. Permission, you may buy something if you wish. Might. Slight possibility. His team might win the trophy, but I doubt it. Past form of may. The teacher said she might be late. Will. Future tense auxiliary. Daisy will visit you next weekend. Offer or suggestion. Will you join us for coffee? Would. Request or invitation. Would you help me with this? Past form of will in reported speech. He predicted that Daisy would visit me. Now, if you're wondering what reported speech is, I will upload a separate video on that topic as well in near future. Shall. Future tense auxiliary. I shall visit her tomorrow. Offer or suggestion. Shall I call a taxi? Should. Advice. You should sleep at least 6 hours a day. Uncertain predictions or logical deduction. They should be here any minute. Must. Obligation. You must buy a ticket to enter the museum. Logical deduction. It's knowing you must be called. Ought to. Advice. You ought to visit your grandparents. Logical deduction. This amount of money ought to be enough for a new dress. Have to. Obligation. Students have to wear a uniform for the school. Last but not least, linking verbs. A linking verb connects the subject of a sentence to a noun, adjective, or a descriptive phrase. They do not show any action. Examples: my name is Roger. In this sentence, the linking verb is does not show any action, but it connects the subject to a noun. You look beautiful. The linking verb does not show any action, but it connects the subject to an adjective. That dog seemed a member of their family. The linking verb connects the subject to a descriptive phrase. Well, that's all for today's lesson. If you have any questions or doubts, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. Until we meet again in another lesson, enjoy!